6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Mallavarachi and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. People across the country are getting ready to celebrate the Sinhala and Hindu New Year in an earnest manner. The Army Commander requests the public to follow the health guidelines. A cash allowance of 5,000 rupees will be paid to the Samruddhi recipients and low-income families. The government has doubled the number of buses for the convenience of the passengers during the festive season. The Consumer Affairs Authority and the Sri Lanka Customs will take action against the companies which imported contaminated coconut oil. And in news overseas, Prince Philip, world leaders and royals send heartfelt sympathy. Those were the headlines, and now more to the details of the local news. The entire island takes on a festive mood as people gear up for the upcoming celebrations by cleaning homes, shopping and making New Year's sweetmeats to begin the new year on a joyous and a positive note. It is celebrated by all people of Sri Lanka irrespective of religious affiliations. Punya Kalya, or the auspicious time, begins at 2:33 a.m. on Tuesday and ends at 8:57 p.m. on Wednesday, the 14th of April. The Sinhala and Hindu New Year dawns on Wednesday, the 14th of April at 2:33 a.m. The auspicious time to prepare meals begins on Wednesday, the 14th of April at 6:17 a.m. clad in light green facing the east, and one should prepare the milk rice. Starting work, transaction and consuming meals should begin on Wednesday, April 14th at 7:41 a.m. clad in light green and facing the east. The Commander of the Army, General Shavendra Silva, has urged the members of the public to strictly adhere to health guidelines during the Sinhala and Hindu New Year celebrations. He specifically appealed to them to wear the face masks properly and to minimize the spread of COVID-19. Meanwhile, the Director General of Health Services, Dr. Asela Gunawardena, says lockdowns or travel restrictions will not be imposed during the festive season. However, the members of the public are expected to follow the relevant health guidelines properly amidst the Aurudhu celebrations, he noted. State Minister of Samruddhi, Household Economy, Microfinance, Self-Employment and Business Development, Shehan Semasingha, says that steps have been taken to provide a cash allowance of 5,000 rupees to Samruddhi recipients and low-income families. The decision has been taken in view of the upcoming Sinhala and Hindu New Year. Samruddhi officers have been instructed to take the necessary measures to hand over the cash allowance to the relevant families prior to the Sinhala and Hindu New Year. This is jointly initiated by the Presidential Task Force for Economic Revival and Poverty Eradication and the Department of Samruddhi Development. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Digital accounts can now be opened in 10 minutes. People's Bank Digital Banking, your ultimate convenience.
And we continue with more local news. The government has doubled the number of buses it deployed last year, the minister said in a statement, with additional trains also being deployed up to the 16th of this month in addition to the normal schedule. Transport Minister Gamini Lokuge has quoted as saying 1,192 Sri Lanka transport buses and 1,800 private buses have been deployed in this regard, while 21 trains have also been added, running 58 additional train trips. Relevant authorities, including the chairman and officials dealing with SLTB, trains and private buses, will be regulating the program from Peta Central Bus Stand. Trade Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the Consumer Affairs Authority and Sri Lanka Customs will take action against the companies which imported coconut oil containing the highly carcinogenic substance aflatoxin under the Consumer Protections Act and Customs Ordinance. Information about 5 large-scale companies has been received following investigations conducted on the containers of the contaminated oil. A special investigation on the 5 companies will be conducted immediately. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the CID has already commenced questioning 5 senior officers of 3 leading companies. Knowing the fact that aflatoxin is harmful to people, this contaminated coconut oil had been imported, violating all imports and other consumer protection laws enacted for health and food commodities. The minister said if the investigations conducted by the CID and other relevant institutions confirm that these contaminated coconut oil stocks had been deliberately imported to Sri Lanka, it would be able to charge billions in compensation from those multinational companies which produce such coconut oil. The Ministry of Health says that the ratio of COVID recoveries has increased. The ministry said that it is currently at 96.52%. The Ministry of Health says 184 more patients who were infected with coronavirus have been discharged from medical care. This brings the total number of COVID-19 recoveries in the country thus far to 91,456. A total of 2,513 virus-infected patients are currently under medical care at designated hospitals and treatment centers across the country. The total number of COVID-19 cases reported in the country so far has reached 94,336, while the death toll stands at 595. April 12th was already a huge day in space history 20 years before the launch of the first shuttle mission. On that day in 1961, Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin left on the way to the launch pad, became the first human in space, making a 108-minute orbit flight in his spacecraft. Newspapers like Huntsville Times trumpeted Gagarin's accomplishment. Mercury astronaut Alan Shepard became the first American in the space less than a month later. The first cooperative human space flight project between the United States and the Soviet Union took place in the year 1975. The Apollo test project was designed to test the compatibility of rendezvous and docking systems for American and Soviet spacecraft to open the way to future joint manned flights. Since 1993, the US and Russia have worked together on a number of other space flights projects. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. People across the country are getting ready to celebrate Sinhala Hindu New Year in an earnest manner. The Army Commander requests the public to follow the health guidelines. A cash allowance of 5,000 rupees will be paid to the Samruddhi recipients and low-income families. The government has doubled the number of buses for the convenience of passengers during the festive season. The Consumer Affairs Authority and Sri Lanka Customs will take action against the companies which imported contaminated coconut oil. And that was the local news.
Debit card, mobile and internet banking along with cardless cash facilities can now be opened in just 10 minutes with no form filling with People's Bank Digital Banking.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for this morning, the government of India has emphasized their cooperation to provide vaccines to Sri Lanka to eradicate COVID pandemic. The Indian High Commissioner's officers say that 1.2 million doses of vaccine have already been given to Sri Lanka. The Indian government says supply of vaccines process is being carried out systematically. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And in Watchlite, the police says special operations will be implemented from today during the festive season. The objective of this move is to minimize the accidents and to ensure the safety of the public. He also said that raids will be conducted continuously to nab persons who are violating quarantine rules. The police media spokesman, DIG Ajit Rohana, said that measures will be taken to arrest drunken drivers during this time. And that came to you in Watchlite.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
the best discount in this Urdu season. People's Leasing Polybasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this Urdu season. Call 011-206300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Moving on to the headlines of the world news, Prince Philip, world leaders and royals send heartfelt sympathy. St. Vincent volcano, heavy ash rains down on the island. More than 80 people killed in Myanmar military crackdown in Daegu. Those are the headlines, and now we move on to the details of the world news. Monarchs, heads of state and prime ministers across the world, past and present, have sent heartfelt tributes following the death of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, at the age of 99. Europe's royal households and Commonwealth leaders alike praise his exceptional public service. Joe Biden described the Duke as a heck of a guy, and all living and former US presidents have also sent tributes. Pope Francis paid tribute to his devotion to his marriage and family. The Caribbean island of St. Vincent has experienced heavy ash fall and sulfur smells after Friday's eruption of La Soufriere volcano. A layer of ash has blanketed buildings and roads around the island, including its capital, Kingstown. Witnesses said the volcano is still rumbling and emitting dark clouds of ash thousands of meters into the air. The Prime Minister has called for calm. La Soufriere, dormant for decades, started to become active in December. More than 80 people have been killed in Myanmar security forces in a crackdown in protest in the city of Daegu, activists say. The military is reported to have taken the bodies of those killed, and the true numbers of deaths may never be accurately established. Witnesses told the local media the soldiers had used heavy weapons and had shot at anything that was moving. Above 600 people have been killed since last month's military coup. And to conclude the world news, the headlines once again. Prince Philip, world leaders and royals send heartfelt sympathy. St. Vincent volcano heavy ash rains down on the island. More than 80 people killed in Myanmar's military crackdown in Daegu. And that was the world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
The best discount in this Urdu season, People's Leasing Polybasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this Urdu season. Call 011 206 300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
In development news, the Minister of Health, Pavitra Vanyarachi, says that Kurunagala Teaching Hospital will be converted into a modern technological hospital at the cost of 12 billion rupees. The minister said this at a discussion held at the Ministry of Health recently regarding the construction of a new hospital in Kurunagala. The minister said that the hospital is located in the city of Kurunagala, where 5 main roads connect to each other, and a large number of people from other districts also come for treatment. From that, we move on to sports news. For the first time, Kandy will host an international cricket match without spectators when Sri Lanka takes on Bangladesh in the first of the two T20 Test series behind the closed doors, as the authorities are still debating on allowing fans to once again witness matches due to the coronavirus. And still in cricket news, wicketkeeper Mohammad Rizwan hit an unbeaten 74 as Pakistan chased 189 with a ball to spare to beat South Africa in the T20 series opener. Pakistan required 11 from the last over and 3 from 2 balls with an overthrow sealing a 4-wicket win. Rizwan, who hit 9 fours and 2 sixes, shared 41 with Babar Azam, 45 with Farhan Zamam and 48 with Fazim Ashraf. The second match in the 4-test match series takes place tomorrow. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, People's Insurance PLC has launched an insurance cover for solar panels mounted in homes, offices and solar parks across the country. Manager, Fire and Miscellaneous Uvinda Pathirana said many Sri Lankans are looking towards producing and using energy in a sustainable manner. While solar panels are the ideal choice for this, people often hesitate because of the high cost and risk such as damages associated with the solar panel usage. This is where we have stepped in to ensure that the customer's investment in solar energy will be protected from perils via a cover developed specifically for this purpose. The basic cover provides protection against fire, lightning, storms, cyclones, floods, earthquakes and accidental damages, inclusive of electrical extra covers. That was the business news, and economic news follows.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
And in economic news, the head of the World Bank has warned world leaders against setting a global maximum tax rate for companies that is too high. David Malpass said he would not want to see new rules that would hinder the poor country's ability to attract investment. Officials said that they hope to reach a global tax deal mid-year. Ms. Yellen has said that global minimum tax on companies is necessary to stop a 30-year race to the bottom, which has seen countries slash rates on companies in an effort to woo woo business investments. That was economic news and the weather report to conclude.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasir, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And finally, the weather report. The Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at several places over most parts of the island in the evening or night. Fairly heavy falls, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places in the Sabaragamuwa, Central, Uwa and Western provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the Central, Sabaragamuwa and Western provinces during the morning hours. And that was the weather report.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasir, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And before we conclude this bulletin of news, let's get back to the headlines once again. People across the country are getting ready to celebrate the Sinhala and Hindu New Year in an earnest manner. The Army Commander requests the public to follow the health guidelines. A cash allowance of 5,000 rupees will be paid to Samruddhi recipients and low-income families. The government has doubled the number of buses for the convenience of the passengers during the festive season. The Consumer Affairs Authority and Sri Lanka Customs will take action against the companies which imported contaminated coconut oil. And in news overseas, Prince Philip, world leaders and royals send heartfelt sympathy. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news.